Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Declutter Me, a podcast about organizing your life, including your digital life. But hello, Shelina.
Hi, Chirag.
It's the summer now.
It is.
It's a good time to sort of take a step back and declutter a whole lot of things.
Yes.
And so obviously we're talking about those. I think it's also a good time to look at digital clutter. It's a time where you can sort of take a little step back. And you
What a segue.
Don't do that. Where's the segue when you say that like that? I'm trying to make a point here, man. Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Anyway, so we kind of want to, we've been talking about this offline as well. We want to talk a little bit more about digital clutter especially. And we ended up ranting about a very specific kind of digital clutter, which is what we're going to talk about today.
You know, so what happened to me the other day, right? I updated my position on LinkedIn. And I had clicked the button to not notify people, and for some reason it still seemed to have notified people on the main page. So I got congratulations and messages continuously. And the thing is, now they can just press a button. You know, people can just press a button, so it's very easy to look like they're actually sincere and congratulating you, but they're not. They're just pressing a button, and it goes into your inbox, which is fine. So then you just press a button saying thanks. So that's all I was doing. You can't easily delete these messages. And so I've got a huge amount of people on my LinkedIn, and my network is big because I've been on LinkedIn since the day it started. Imagine about 2,000 people congratulated me. I had to say thanks to all of them. And you can't just bulk delete it on LinkedIn. You have to go through each one and press the 3 dots and then press delete and then yes for every single message. Then I started looking at all the messages, and I realized I have messages from, say, 2010 or something, and some of them says LinkedIn connection doesn't exist anymore. And I'm like, why have I got these messages? And it's because it's so difficult to delete it. And I'm a declutterer, so I sat there watching TV. Chernobyl mostly, brilliant show, and I started deleting all these messages, and it took ages. But I've also done connections before. I have gone through and removed connections, and that's a tedious, long-winded process.
It's a mindset thing too, because we look at LinkedIn as a very professional network, right? Mm-hmm. And I think, for me, this is how Facebook started, by the way. You accepted just about everybody. Yeah. Because at the time, everybody had met you somewhere, and then they added you on Facebook, and then you just added them. And suddenly we started realizing that, whoa, I have 1,000+ contacts. I don't really know all those people all that well, and they're all following my personal updates. And so then the list thing came through, and Instagram has the same thing now, where because the volume has increased to that level where it's so mainstream, then now they've introduced features like, share your stories only with your close friends and stuff like that. Yeah. Whereas LinkedIn is one of those places, I think, where it's still, not that it hasn't matured, but it's still in that phase where, you're doing this for professional connections, and the idea of professional connections and networking means you want to connect with everybody. And so you accept people more easily. You also share less personal stuff, so you're not really very concerned that, someone whom you randomly met at a conference is not following your updates, because your updates are about work. And so it's fine. And I think that's one of the reasons why, even from a usability point of view, it was never prioritized to be like, well, let's make it super easy for them to get rid of people, or let's protect privacy and that kind of thing, which is a severe issue with things like Facebook and Instagram. A lot of times I'll go in and I'll get a bunch of messages, and some of them will be from people I know, but some of them will be these sponsored posts. And because, as we all are, pressed for time and pressed for those kind of things, we're really I'm kind of focusing on, I know this person, let me go react or respond to them. Yeah. And I just ignore the sponsored ones, because I'm like, I'll deal with those later. I don't even want to read them. But
I find it very intrusive that it's coming into your inbox. It's all right if it was on the main page, which is annoying enough, because you do get that as well. But it's the actual inbox, and especially when I've just sat there and deleted so many messages and old messages that are not relevant anymore. And then you start getting these things, and a lot of it is just not relevant at all. It's just spam. There should be a way not to have this spam, to be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think they could go the way, again, this is what the other social networks do, Facebook, Instagram. They have a separate inbox for people who are not your contacts, so to speak. Yeah. But the problem there, though, to be fair, is that I've been contacted by people, and it's just been sitting in that inbox. I've never seen it for months.
I missed a potential client because of that. I only saw it 2 days later because I didn't check. I check Facebook every day, the unread, the not connected messages. But I didn't on Instagram. For some reason, it didn't come up. And I mean, considering, we've got so many accounts, and we've got personal account and we've got business accounts, how many inboxes can we check between ourselves, every day? It's double the amount. So, of course, things are going to be lost. But you don't then, on top of that, need to be getting spam into your inbox as well when you've got so many messages from other places.
I find it super distracting because it really gets in the way of something. I look at it and be like, oh, there's a new message, I need to react to it, and it turns out it's one of these, and I'm like, what? And so far, by the way, there's not been one of them that's been relevant to me personally. Like it's generally very HR or some marketing stuff. And it's mostly those people, I think, that are putting money into the thing anyway. So
I get a lot of these. I can help you with your social media, and I can help you with your website. Your website looks bad, or your social media looks bad. And the fact is that, I know the certain gentleman who did my website, and it's fine. And my social media is very good. So for these people to have sent that message, they've obviously not looked. It's all generic, and it's irritating. And why are they wasting people's time like that? There must be a better way to get business. So I find that really annoying. I'm looking at my LinkedIn, and it says I've got 16 unread messages, and this is again because of this whole most would be thanking me, congratulating me for a job, or spam. I don't like having unread messages. At the end of my day, my email is under 10 emails, which I've talked about before. It should be the same for all my inboxes, but because of this absurdity with LinkedIn, it's not clearing, and it's so I don't like that. It has to be a bit easier with LinkedIn, I think. With the connections, if you have a lot of connections, what I recommend with people to do is sit on your laptop or on your phone on the couch and
while watching TV.
Yeah, while watching TV. watch something good on Netflix. But do go through it. You can sort it by recently added, or you can do it by name. What I do, I go through and go, do I actually know who this person is? Have I got a proper connection? Why have I added them? And if it says LinkedIn connection, you can definitely remove them. So you could go to the search by name and put in LinkedIn. And if you do that on the search by name, you can remove loads of people who've removed themselves from LinkedIn or blocked you or whatever. So you can remove that connection. So that's a bulk amount of connections. But of course, you can't bulk delete, so you have to do it one by one. So that's one thing to do. There is a filter system, but it's actually not very good because, ideally you'd want it by year, so you could see the earliest year and see if you're still connected with those people, because most probably with a lot of them you're not.
But I think Facebook used to do that at some point and be like, you can do it by interaction. And so if you can see when is the last time this person interacted with me, even if it's on a post, then at least you know that the person's actually following you versus not, or whatever. I think that might be a good way to do it. But but you're right, it is a problem, because you literally have to look at it like an email list and say, all right, I'm just going to go through each one and I'm going to see if the person's still someone I want to stay connected to or not, and then just get rid of them.
Yeah. It's a double-edged sword. So in a way, it's good to have all these connections, because you never know who might tell someone, see your posts about your business, and then if you post about it on LinkedIn, if you are regular, and they will go tell somebody else. So there is always that. You never know who will talk about you. But then in another point, there might be connections that are just a waste of time, or you just don't want to, you've dealt with them and you've just gone, actually, I don't want them in my network. I don't want to have a professional relationship or a personal relationship with them.
And then sometimes it's also in my case as well, because I lived in the States for a while, I've got a ton of contacts that are from the States. From a decluttering point of view, I should just get rid of them, and just keep it cleaner. But from a connection point of view, sure, it's nice that we're connected, and who knows. But from an actual usability point of view, it is extra clutter that,
because then you'll see their stuff on your home feed as well. That's the other thing. Whoever you're connected with, you see the people on the home feed.
Yeah, and I think that's what I've been using more recently. So I haven't done one of these go through my connections, but that's what I've been doing. If I come across something in my feed that I'm like, actually, I don't know why I'm still following this person. The person's not relevant to me in any way. And then, and also on top of that, we've never interacted in, a decade. Then that's a good way to be like, okay, at the very least, I'll unfollow them if I don't disconnect it from them.
I do it for people on the home feed who put too many personal messages on their LinkedIn feed. I find it too much, that you shouldn't, they give their whole life story, and it is a story. I don't need a story on LinkedIn. People do it as well. You'll see this emotionally charged connection for when you go to talks. And you'll see the people who've learned how to do this, because they'll do this. They'll talk about something. Say they went to an ashram and became Buddhas and all that kind of. They do this. They had some awakening of some sort. Usually it's about they had some illness and they've survived, and look at them and look how amazing they are now. And they'll do a whole thing about it and cry and get you to cry, and it's called an emotionally charged connection, and it's to make you feel sympathetic towards them and then want to use their services or buy their products. It's a very it's a tool that's used for a lot of people, and I always look at it and go, oh my God. I mean, because I could do it for, you know, something I've had in my personal life when I was a baby. And I talked to my mum about it once because I'd gone to another one of these talks and this had happened again. And I said to my mum, this is what happened. I don't do this at my talks, you know, and I could do it. And she went, but you're not that kind of person, you know. But people do that on LinkedIn. So they don't. It's not even like a talk, you know, like a TEDx talk or any kind of talk. They're doing it on LinkedIn on a regular basis, going, this is me, look at what's happened to me. It's like, oh my God, no, this is not how. I don't think it's professional, but.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's a good way to sort of like start to feel like, hey, I mean, this is the same, by the way, this is a process that we did, you know, a few years ago for Facebook, and now we do it for Instagram, where if someone's, you know, really following is not a two-way street necessarily. And if you're not enjoying someone's posts, or if honestly, sometimes there are, and I know this has happened to me too, like there are posts actually like they upset me, or they make me, they actually don't make me feel good. Like they're really not encouraging. I mean, there's some people that are just very negative about everything, and so everything is a complaint about something. Sometimes it's just easier to say, okay, look, you know what, I don't mind staying in connection with you, and maybe down the road we'll connect over something, but I'd rather just unfollow the stuff and keep my feed clean.
Facebook, yes, I just unfollow. I don't, you know, unless they really have become awful human beings, then I'll remove them completely. But on Twitter, I am quite harsh. If somebody keeps on tweeting horrible things or negative things, I mean, I remember there was one woman who lived in Dubai and then lived away and then came back, and she kept on being negative about Dubai all the time. I had to remove her, and I just went, I can't.
Yeah, I think with Twitter, it's also like, it's nicer that you can just unfollow, and it's very
it's just blunt,
spot,
yeah. So I just unfollow, and she did find out, and she wasn't happy, and I went, I don't care. Yeah, I was harsh about that. So in Twitter, I'm quite harsh. I just delete.
Back to LinkedIn. So yeah, I think the one thing that really does bug me is the messaging and the inbox clutter. And I will be honest, unlike other places like Instagram, like for me, my LinkedIn inbox is a mess because I just keep getting these things. I just can't. I'm just, you know, it's just one more inbox to look at and one more inbox to worry about, and I just haven't really gone through them. But the good thing about the messaging one though is that they allow you to filter by the sponsored ones versus the not, thankfully, so you can be quicker about that, but you still have to delete them one at a time.
But I find also with the LinkedIn messages, it depends how old they are. Like I'm looking from 2009. They separated each message from the person, so you have to delete each message from that one person. They didn't group them together. Now they're all grouped, but before it was separate, and they haven't changed it. So this is 2010, 2011. It's the same. So it took many years. Oh, it's even longer. It took many years for them to group the messages together. It's really bad. So, and I thought I deleted, and it seems to be still showing messages from 2009. I thought I deleted everything the other day, but it's not. So, yeah, big issue. So, yeah, so this is I
would encourage people, please don't get overwhelmed. It's okay if that little, I mean, you know, it's one of those things where they haven't really made it the easiest thing to do at a stretch or easily. But hey, you know, if you are someone that does live a lot of your life on LinkedIn, as some of us do, you know, sitting in front of the TV is a good idea to like just go and just clean it up, because honestly it does get a little messy. And I mean, for me, like I said, the worst part is I leave those little sponsored ones in there, and then I come back, and every time I look at this, like two new ones, and I'm like, oh, just go away. Like,
yeah, I mean, with all not just with LinkedIn, but any social media, you know, every so often you do need to sit and do a declutter, because you don't need all this stuff, and you will become overwhelmed if you don't declutter every so often. LinkedIn just makes it a bit harder. So yeah, find something good on Netflix, a good series to watch, and do it at the same time.
And if someone from LinkedIn just happens to be listening to our show, like, please look into this. This would really help us out.
Yeah, and then you can sponsor us for coming up with such good suggestions. You're welcome.
So, as always, you can find out more information about our show, and you can subscribe in your favorite podcast player. Although, I mean, if you haven't subscribed by now, like, I think that's the first thing you should do when you start watching Netflix. Yeah. Open your podcast player, subscribe to Declutter Me. And you can find out all our previous episodes by visiting declutterme.com/podcast. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.